December 18th, 2015. The quarantine zone in the middle of Manhattan, later known as the Dark Zone, was abandoned by the government and the Joint Task Force. They left behind weapons, equipment, thousands of civilians, and the first wave of division agents. Although it is assumed that the majority of the first wave were killed or went rogue, there are a number that just simply disappeared. What we do know is that some of them managed to escape the quarantine zone and make their way to the outside of Manhattan Island. In this series, we're going to follow these agents and speculate on what happened to them based on their psychological profiles and the location of where their watches and other information was found. Edward Pastor's parents were Cuban refugees. They first came to the US in the cargo hold of a fishing boat. Settling in California, they became citizens in 1986, after which Eddie was born. Fiercely proud of being American, he graduated at the top of his high school class. From here, he enlisted and became a field medic with 3 tours in Iraq. Eddie received the Purple Heart after the Humvee he was in was hit by an improvised explosive device. After recovering, he left the service and spent 1 year working with Doctors Without Borders in East Africa. When Eddie returned to the US, he went to work as a nurse for the Department of Veterans Affairs. He was actively involved in veterans groups seeking to improve care for returning soldiers. He has neither love nor respect for bureaucracy, and has been known to reach into his own pockets to provide for patients when the system failed to do so. Eddie's watch and ID was found at the top of a parking building, southwest of the Dark Zone in the Kips Bay district. Caring more for his fellow soldier than the bureaucrats calling the shots, there is a good chance that Eddie was more than happy to join Arankina's cause, given how the whole quarantine zone plan panned out. If this was the case, it's unknown where he was heading, as there was little of interest to the rogue agents on this side of Manhattan, though there is a good possibility that he was being pursued by cleaners, as there was a large number of them patrolling around the area where his watch was found. The other thing of note is that the parking building that he took refuge in is a highly contaminated area. He may have simply succumbed to the virus, but based on the fact that there was a large number of bodies there in full hazmat suits, I feel this area was the target of a raid. Just around the corner from this location is the Lexington Event Center, headquarters of the Rikers. Whether Edward Pastor was teamed up with Arankina, where he was simply trying to find a spot to gather his bearings, is of no importance to the Rikers. Anyone they deemed as official in any way was to be executed, or tortured if they were unlucky enough to be captured. Terry White enlisted at the age of 18. He served 2 tours at the Anbar province and was decorated for bravery. After leaving the service, he used the GI Bill to study biochemistry. He was highly regarded by all professors due to his immense drive and admirable work ethic. Terry suffered from PTSD symptoms, which led to the dissolution of his marriage. He is now enrolled in an experimental treatment program at Rutgers, where early returns are promising. He has since tried to reconcile with his ex-wife, but so far has been unsuccessful. Detail-orientated and aggressive, he has little patience for those who are less observant than he. Terry has no respect for those who are unwilling to sacrifice in the pursuit of goals. Terry's watch and ID was found in the basement of a building east of the Dark Zone, in the Murray Hill district. Angry with the government for their inability to stick with the overall plan behind the quarantine zone, Terry quickly sided with Keener and the other rogue agents. His biochemistry experience would prove invaluable to Keener, and likely assisted in a number of planned operations, including the kidnapping of Vitaly Trinenko and the finding of Gordon Amherst's lab and equipment. After the JTF and the second wave agents started their hit on the United Nations headquarters, Keener saw the writing on the wall and decided to take off with the Russian scientist. Rogue agents like Terry either escaped with them or found other ways of removing themselves from the impending fall of the Last Man Battalion. Last seen heading east, it's likely that Terry is long gone from the area. He could have moved on to other operations for Keener, or he could have left New York altogether, meeting up with the other agents in Washington, D.C. I think it's very likely that Terry isn't the only rogue agent that was successful in escaping New York City. In fact, there was another one very close by. Jason Bernard's father was working at the World Trade Center when the events of 9/11 unraveled. However, his father survived thanks to the rescue efforts of an EMT. It was this situation alone that inspired Jason to become an EMT against his family's wishes. Jason suffers from bouts of anxiety and depression, but through the use of medication, this is kept under control. In high school, he was an athlete, which was leading him towards scholarships until he tore his ACL in his senior year. However, he continues to work out diligently, and he also studies the Korean martial art of Hapkido. Jason is extremely intelligent and thinks quickly on his feet. He is capable of improvising solutions using whatever is available at hand, and has no problem with implementation. His EMT career has been distinguished. He has always been willing to take the worst and most dangerous calls, likely due to the fact that he feels he has to live up to the example of the woman who saved his father. But Jason focuses on what is left to achieve, not what he has done. Jason's watch and ID was found in a building site to the east of the Dark Zone in the Murray Hill district. His profile doesn't fit one that would turn rogue and betray his country, regardless of how it may have been sold to him. I believe Jason played the survivor role in this situation, and did exactly what was expected of him in order to survive. His last known location was in an area completely controlled by the LMB. It's possible that he was joined into the LMB ranks as a sign of good faith from Aaron Keener, to fulfill his side of the collaboration between Keener and Colonel Bliss. Jason may have even been a part of the operation to kidnap Vitaly Trinenko from the Russian consulate. After the collapse of the LMB, he is quietly making his way through the LMB-controlled streets of East Manhattan. With the LMB now fully aware of Keener's betrayal, they have a personal score to settle with the First Wave agents. Again, for his safety, Jason will have followed fellow First Wave agents like Terry White towards their next objective, or to their planned rendezvous with Aaron Keener in Washington, D.C. Jason may yet become a useful source of intelligence for our upcoming battle to restore order to the capital. Aaron Keener was a Citadel College graduate. He served at Camp Lemonnier in Djibouti, where he developed a bit of a reputation as a soldier who avoided combat by remaining in the base. He has combined his military experience and decision-making skills to achieve extensive success in the private sector. Aaron is very adaptable and confident. He always assumes he's going to come out on top. Although he's been divorced twice, he maintains friendly relationships with both exes. He's been described as too much work to keep up with by one, as he's deeply invested in doing things right and is highly competitive. Aaron had a privileged upbringing and has never really faced real adversity, although he seems to be able to overcome any obstacle through the combination of willpower and intelligence. As a very personable character, Aaron is easily able to get others to work together to achieve his goals. Well, it's no secret what Aaron Keener went on to do, as the whole story has revolved around him in one way or another. Even as we move towards Washington, D.C., it appears he will continue to feature in a big way. So with Keener, we're going to walk through the steps he took earlier on before he turned his back and went rogue. Aaron's watch and ID was found on the ground in a rooftop bar to the east of the Dark Zone in the Midtown East District. But we're going to take a few steps back. We're going to start from the exact moment that Keener decided to break rank and turn his back on the Strategic Homeland Division and the government. Aaron Keener managed to evacuate a large number of civilians out of the Dark Zone and was heading towards a safe house. Unfortunately, he was being pursued by Rikers, and he was forced to hold out in an apartment in the Stuyvesant district.
Now you listen to me. I brought these people out of the Dark Zone and we were followed. I tried to hold up in a JTF safe house, but the Rikers out there didn't back off. If you don't pull us out, these people are all dead.
Let's leave a Charlie Vanguard, but that zone is too hot for extraction. You'll sit tight and wait further instructions. Angel 6 out.
So that's it? We just wait to die?
Not if I can help it.
After phoning in for assistance, the JTF officer on the phone said they were on their own. Based on the number of Molotov cocktails being thrown in the window, Keener was likely to be one of the only survivors, having to watch the men, women, and children under his protection burn alive. To Keener, this was unacceptable, and was one of the defining moments for how things were going to be moving forward. The next time we see Keener is outside of the police academy, talking to another agent. He's expressing his distrust in the JTF and the government, and that things have changed, that now it's all about power and survival. Now we all know what happens in the story after this, but in between this point and the next time we hear from him, Aaron Keener disposed of his watch and his ID quite a distance away. The rooftop bar was possibly the place where Keener met up with his first wave agents, loyal to his cause. This could have been the place where the first of his plans were organised. Or maybe he just needed a couple of drinks to give him the courage to bite the bullet and take matters into his own hands. Whatever the reasons for being there, it was from this moment that Aaron Keener became the most hunted man in New York City, and an enemy of the United States. These are just my theories and speculations based off the story missions, encounters, intel, and psychological profiles of the agents. It's entirely possible that they simply died after being exposed to the virus, or were killed by one of the many hostile factions. There are many different possible outcomes, but tell me, what do you think happened to these agents? Hopefully people actually see this video. I've been having a few issues with people not being notified. There have been a few requests lately for some of the better known stories like April Kelleher and the Noble Squad, and what my take on these are, so I'll see what I can find. Otherwise, I pretty much have the next few months' videos planned out. Unless anything major pops up, I should be covered until at least February, March. If you're still following this series, thank you for watching. As per usual, I've been your host, Joe, the awkward Kiwi accent Engian guy. Cheers! Okay, I'm just joking. I wouldn't do that to you, even if it's pretty much my life lately. Sorry.